they say that India accounts for 17% of the total number of diabetics in the world. Nutrition science is the only science in this globe which is highly conflicted. So nothing is healthy. Everything available in the packet food are all junk. I have a gentleman who's 70-year-old successfully got off insulin also. So he's in Belgium. We are seeing a rise in instances of even fatty liver in children, in kids. Parents are the root cause of obesity of children who eat. You know that there are essential nutrients, essential fatty acids, essential amino acids, essential minerals, vitamins, but there are no essential glucose or essential carbohydrates.
metabolic health coach, nutrition network advisor, and someone guiding people in reversing diabetes and hypertension with a low carb lifestyle approach. Our guest today on the Settle or Be Better podcast is Mr. Shashikant Iyengar, who's going to be talking to us about a low carb lifestyle and diabetes. So, welcome, Mr. Shashikant, and over to you. Why don't you begin by telling us a little bit about your personal health and wellness story and how is it that you've been, how long has it been since you've been doing a low carb lifestyle and also guiding people through it?
Yeah, so Sakshi, first of all, thank you very much for inviting me this session. So I'll tell you about myself. So I first of all, my health journey began when I got diagnosed as a type 2 diabetic somewhere in September 2015. And my HbA1c was 7.2, fasting was 150, postprandial was 252. And as usual, I went to my doctor, got a prescription of metformin and a few other tests done. And I was searching for a solution to get rid of diabetes. Now, it so happens that my background, I'll tell you, my background is I'm from pharma sales. I've been in pharma sales for 35 years. I worked in MNCs like Abbott for 32 years, in Pfizer for 1.5 year, and a good 30 years was spent on cardiovascular and diabetes medication sales. So I used to meet all the doctors, cardiologists, diabetologists, MDs, and I promoted all these products. So I have thorough knowledge of most of the cardiovascular and anti-diabetic. No, most, not all. And so I searched for a solution to to handle diabetes more than what I'm doing. In the sense, I knew that medication is a good option, but I also knew that as time goes on, medication will keep on increasing. So today I'll be on one tablet, it will be then raised to two or three, and then one more medication added. Ultimately, maybe in 15 years or 20 years max, I'll land up in insulin. So I was convinced about that. Even though now there are a lot of good medications available, but nevertheless, it only keeps on increasing. So I searched Google, and then I came across solution like low carbohydrate diet. While there are a lot of solutions which is seen in Google, but this thoroughly convinced me because I try and read the science behind everything. So I don't get convinced by anyone saying anything. I go and do an in-depth research. So I found that this is very logical, and in Google, I also found a person called Anup Singh always promoting what is called as LCHF, or low carbohydrate, high fat diet. And I joined a group called D Life, and from there I picked up everything. And uh, my HbA1c came down to 5.2 within just 3 months of diagnosis. So 7.2 to 5.2 in 3 months. But then those were sort of baby steps which I was taking. So as time went on, I kept refining it properly, improving it, and especially adding up a good deal of protein to my diet. So initially, protein was not my focus; it was more on fats and carb. But then we realized that this is not the scientific way. Scientific way is to talk about something which is not mentioned here, and that is a protein. And then further down, I got my HbA1c down to 4.7. I used to stay in the band of 4.7, 4.8, 4.8 for quite a long time, 3 years or so. So now usually I'm in the band of 5 is what. And the maximum I reached was 5.3 if I was little lenient with carbohydrate. Otherwise, if I'm strict, it is usually 5. And if I'm more stricter, it will come down to sub 5, that is 4.7, 4.8. But that is okay. I think 5 is a good number to achieve, and I'm quite comfortable with it. I took metformin, one tablet at night for 3 years. In spite of getting HbA1c 4.7, I still used to take one tablet. But then, after the first 3 years, I stopped taking it somewhere around 16, probably somewhere until 2018 or something. I used to take, and then from 19 I stopped. So it is now 7.5 years that I am following a low carb, high protein, and adequate fat lifestyle, and I don't take any pharma medical medicine. So I might take one or two supplement, which I consider it as okay and to be taken. Um, so this is how this is my journey is, and in this process, uh, I've been helping a lot of my close friends and relatives to help them eliminate medicines, reduce medicines, or even get off insulin and get off blood pressure medication also. So I have a lot of cases in my own circle where I have my cousin who knocked off 70 units of insulin and is only on now on a small dose of insulin because he's primarily the insulin deficient. He has been to 2 decades of type 2 diabetic. Reversed his microalbuminuria, which rose to more than 100. It has come back to some 5 or 8 units. I have I had one of my colleagues whom I helped get off 4 blood pressure medication. So even in spite of taking 4 BP medication, it was just shooting up. He went to his doctor, and doctor told we will have to add fifth medication. And then he came to me because he knew that I knew something about nutrition. And then within 3 months, he was off all 4 medication. So this has been my journey earlier, and then I thought that I should get some certification. So that's the time my own community DLF launched a diploma in low carb nutrition. So I done that. From Nutrition Network, I done 7 or 8 certifications. American Nutrition Association's Advanced Ketogenic Nutrition also I done, and I'm also accredited as from the Society of Metabolic Health Practitioner as a metabolic health practitioner. I'm the first from India to get this accreditation. The second one is there's one more document. So there's just two of us in India.
Wow.
And as you know, SMHP is the wing of Low Carb USA, the biggest promoters of low carb conferences in the world. So to sum up, this is how it is, and further update is like in November 22, 14 November 22 was my last day in corporate, and then I left and I'm practicing as a metabolic health practitioner. I'm focusing primarily on diabetes and hypertension remission. So it is known as reversal, but that is not the right word. The right word is remission. So it is now around 6 months I've been practicing as a low carb uh, practitioner, and I do all my consultations virtual. Yeah, so that's it.
That's amazing. That's quite a journey. And if you don't mind me asking, what is your age currently?
See, I crossed 56 years of age, so I'm turning 57.
That's wonderful. I mean, you really don't look like someone in your late 50s. So that's really amazing to know. And also, just for audience to know, when you were diagnosed with type 2 diabetes and when you did start, this low carb diet lifestyle, how much time did it take you to actually reduce your levels and come to a healthy, a report? How much time was it that it took you for
It,
adjust?
it, see, it was just 3 months because within a month of getting diagnosed as a type 2 diabetic, I immediately shifted to low carbohydrate. So the first month itself, I was on a low calorie diet. In the sense, I stopped all the junk food, sugar, everything I stopped, and no more having all those patata vada, samosa, everything. I just but stopped everything. So I went on a low calorie, but that is not enough to really control your diabetes. So, but then within a month or so, I learned low carb from D Life, and then I adopted it, and I came to 5.2, and then I added up more proteins. I was a vegetarian primarily, so I started taking eggs. So tons of eggs I take. It could be anywhere between 4 to 8 per day, so depending totally upon what I want to take, and can be higher also sometimes. And this helped me control diabetes to good extent. Not only this, I used to suffer from a lot of bone and joint issues. So
Hmm.
coincidentally, around the time of diagnosis, I was diagnosed with osteoarthritis in my left knee, tendinitis in my right knee. I used to have frozen shoulder, which I never knew it was due to diabetes or what. That I was suffering from for almost a year. I had frozen wrist. My wrist was almost frozen. I never realized. I did not even see a doctor. I thought this is just some sprain or something. Cervical spondylitis. So everything was there around the same. Within a month, everything really got diagnosed. It is like a time bomb which has hit me in that September, October 2015 time. But following a low carb approach, and I resolved everything. I mean, I don't have any osteoarthritic pain. It is highly controlled. I can jog, do slow jog of around 2 kilometers a day. I walk around 5 to 6 kilometer or even higher per day. Cervical spondylitis, it is resolved. And one more very interesting is tinnitus. I used to suffer from tinnitus, loud ringing in the ear. It was always part of life and nothing could have been done. I had consulted doctors also earlier, long, long back. So once I found that once I went into low carb, that intensity diminished, and once I entered into the keto range, then it diminished even further. So
Wow.
tinnitus is still there, but the intensity is far, far less. It must be only around 20-25% of what I used to suffer from earlier. So this is one thing which got resolved. Acidity, GERD, sleepiness post meal, central obesity is totally gone. No more tummies there. I'm a lean person. I'm a lean diabetic, a typical lean Indian. I'm underweight even today, but still I had central obesity. It's gone.
That's amazing, and these are some great points that you just talked about, because a lot of people don't realize these side effects that come up with diabetes, and it's usually the first reaction is that, oh, I can't have sugar now, I have to control my sugar. That's the only thing that is the focus, and that's the highlight for people when they get diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. But all of these other factors that might be affecting their energy and the way they feel in their body throughout the day, just feeling sleepy after a meal is really not normal, and that means that we really need to make some little changes in these things. So that's a great highlight for us. And were these changes like major for you, or were these easy to adapt for you?
See, it is not very easy. I hope, I think we should all accept and we should realize that it is not very easy getting off from the carbohydrate centric food on which we are rice based primarily. Being a South Indian, it was full rice loaded meals. Not that I never used to have wheat. I used to have rotis, chapatis also, idli, dosa. Everything was carbohydrate based. So it was a gradual shift. So what I did was, um, I used to have carbohydrate in each meal initially, and then some protein in each meal, and then gradually I shifted and kept knocking off the grains gradually. So breakfast gradually I shifted to totally low carb. Lunch, it was my, I was in a field job, so I used to have something outside, and then night again some carbs and some paneer, and then slowly I shifted in such a way that now I take only two meals. Only breakfast and early dinner is spotted. I take only two meals now. But then the shift was gradual and not easy. And I hope, I'm sure
Right.
that you realize that in our surroundings we are concerned. All the relatives, close relatives, our parents, everyone will be really concerned. They think that we will die if we don't have carbohydrate. So
True.
I used to tell them that I'm going to follow this only for 6 months, 1 year, and then I'll be back on my carb. So that's how I kept on assuring. And every 3 months, I used to show them the lab report and show them that everything is okay and I'm improving. And then after 2, 3 years, no one bothers and asks you. In fact, after 3 years, people will try to follow you. It's what I have seen. So you will be laughed at, you will be ridiculed, everything will happen to you, and then ultimately people will follow you. That's what something which I have seen.
Absolutely. And even to think about that, 3 months is a good time period to really focus on yourself and work. And just like you leading the example, and so many other people I'm sure who are also with this look up approach, being able to get their reports at a healthy state, it's really great, because what people do is usually they are living with diabetes for years without making any real changes, and just on medication. And of course, in some extreme cases, we might not be able to avoid medications, and you will have to listen to your doctor. But what happens is that once someone gets a prescription, the lifestyle changes are completely stopped or neglected, and they completely rely on medication, is what usually happens. And of course, nowadays even my parents have had type 2 diabetes, and the doctor did give us nutrition plan and like some tips on approaching your nutrition in a different way. But when the medication comes into picture, that is really neglected, and these are something that we definitely need to start applying and putting more focus on. So thank you for sharing that with us. And moving on to my next question is that what have you seen? I mean, you are into consulting, and you have people coming to you for this guidance, right? So what have you seen are some of the key factors in an Indian nutrition and Indian diet that are really affecting people with diabetes, or even getting them closer to being diagnosed with type 2 diabetes?
See, I think you know our Indian dish plate system, full of carbohydrate. 60-70% is what is made of carbohydrate. Um, Poor fat. I mean, we poor quality fat is what we use. All those refined oils. protein is something which primarily we depend upon some dairy, not a bigger some dairy, and probably something like pulses and all, dal and all we depend. It is estimated that our overall protein intake will be around just 30 grams or so. And this is putting all protein source together, first class, second class, what is called as complete protein, incomplete protein, everything. So our protein intake is very, very poor, and it is primarily high carb coupled with offtake of intake of refined seed oils, which offtake the high omega 3 seed oils, omega 3, high omega 6, sorry, high omega 6 seed oils. Omega 3, there's hardly we get. I mean, vegetarians do not get any omega 3 except from the dairy which they take, whatever the milk or ghee or some butter, whatever they little quantity. So this imbalance of omega and excess energy intake in form of excess carbohydrate, refined oils, is what is leading to we there is a concept called personal fat threshold, that each one of us can hold only certain amount of fat in our body. Once we cross that, we are going to become diabetic. So these oils are known to cause insulin resistance independently, and excess carbohydrate intake again overloads the system. And what I generally see, which people come to me, they are all uncontrolled diabetes. So healthy people obviously will not come to me. So when they come to me, I see a lot of other problems, deranged liver parameters, of course. Uh, they have fatty liver, and very, very glaring is deficiency of B12, vitamin D, and if it is a female, additional deficiency of iron is always seen. So these three are very, very common in most of us. And wherever possible, I do insulin test. I mean, fasting insulin test of pp, that provided if they are not on drugs, because if they are on drugs which releases insulin, then it can show a false positive or something. So very high insulin level, very often I get people with blood pressure, and you see that insulin level will be high, around maybe above 14, 15 units to 25, 30, 40. Very rarely I've seen even 75 units also. In such cases, extreme sugar craving, blood pressure, or even deranged blood sugar may be there. Sometimes blood sugars are normal, but insulin level is high. So there is some of the other issues which are there. I think that's about it. High carb and multiple meals a day. Highly fluctuating blood sugar is what I say. Blood sugar will fluctuate between 300, 400. It will come down to as much as even 80, 90 in some cases, especially those who are on insulin. There's a huge fluctuations. I think once you set the dietary regime properly, put them on low carb, adequate protein, adequate fat, everything just normalizes like beautifully. Yeah.
Absolutely. And also, I mean, in general, if someone was to carry ahead this kind of a lifestyle, it's really a lifestyle. It's not just a diet. And actually, this is really the way that we should be eating. It's just that we've been affected culturally, and staying in a, even staying in a joint family also has a major impact on what you eat. And because if you are not controlling the food that you're going to eat, like if you're not the one cooking the meals, it does impact majorly, like
Yeah.
what the family is eating together. And it kind of does put you in isolation if you're the only one who's doing this, and you might not always get that kind of a support in each family. So that also is a major factor. So that was a great insight. And also, what is the struggle that you usually face with when you have your clients go through this? What are some common struggles that you face with also convincing them, and making them believe that this would really do them good, and busting some myths that they might have around this kind of diet?
See, first of all, people who come to me are all well-researched people. They have done good research that is going to help them, and they are in a bad shape, pretty bad shape. They are such a bad shape that they are willing to do anything. Otherwise, people who are comparatively okay, and their blood sugars are okay, even if they are consuming tons of pills, they don't come to me because they think that they are okay. So people who come to me, somewhere they have done research and they feel that this is going to help them. And in turn, I not only help them decide what to take, but then I coach them on various aspects, that what a real human being should be eating. That we should be eating more of fatty protein foods rather than carbohydrate type of foods. And then I coach them on the dangers and the complications that can set in later on, and how nutritionally these foods could be very, very adequate. I mean, it We know that there are essential nutrients, essential fatty acids, essential amino acids, essential minerals, vitamins, but there are no essential glucose or essential carbohydrates. So this concept has to be told to them. I also counsel wherever possible their families also. So if it's a lady, there is no issue. She will cook for herself. She will make the entire family healthy.
True.
So if it is a male, then sometimes I get the family also in and ask them to support, because ultimately this person is going to support the family. If he is not well, how he is going to support it? So sometimes we'll have to make them aware that if that person is healthy, he's going to take care of everyone.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, he is going to spend money on hospitalization. And today, if anyone gets admitted in some corporate hospital, they can easily come up with a bill of more than 1 lakh within a couple of days. All of us know this. There's nothing to be surprised. We keep hearing in social media people are shouting on corporate hospitals. Sometimes I tell them, no, it is not their fault. It is your fault, because you are not taken care of your diet. You are not taken proper health checkup. You are not followed the medication properly. You are not followed whatever diet the doctor has given. That also you are not followed properly. Forget everything, and then you have to then suffer. You will have to suffer from complication. Go to dialysis center, right, to get admitted in ICU or ICCU, get your foot amputated or whatever it is. I mean, these are all complications, dreaded complication which people face. So it is better that they take care so that they can take care of their family. This is the primary thing which I say. You will have to take care of yourself so that you can take care of your family. So this is the crux of what
Absolutely.
I say.
That is a really compelling reason that you pointed out, because a lot of time people also struggle to find a reason to work on this. Like they might be like, half of India is facing type 2 diabetes. I know so many relatives, I know so many friends. So why should I really work on this? I mean, it's okay. It's not really affecting me. It's not cancer. It's not really, doing me that bad, because they might not be realizing the symptoms that their body is already showing them in terms of, like you said earlier, like the kind of aches and pains you have, the energy levels you have. And people a lot of times struggle with this, and also particularly I'd say fathers in their late 40s or 50s, because there are just so many responsibilities they have to take care of. And then when this comes up, this is another thing that piles up on the list of responsibilities, and often it's a lower priority. And first are finances, and also taking care of the children's education or any sort of those things. And usually this comes up quite low, unfortunately. And that's a great way that to think about it. And you pointed out that if the person is healthy, they will impact the way that their families reacting to them, that their relationship with their family and friends. So if they want to take care of their family and themselves also, this is where they can begin. So that's a great point. Thank you for sharing that with us. And also, you might have clients from different ages, right? Do you find that people in their late 40s or say early 50s have a much difficult time to adapt to this? And how is it that you're approaching it differently for them? And are there some different approaches for them particularly to get adapted to this?
See, I think you will not be surprised to know nowadays we are seeing a lot of diabetics, people with diabetes from the age of 30 to 40. I have significant population of this age group actually. So someone in their 50s is okay. See, if someone is diagnosed at the age of 50, they have another window period of 10 to 15 years before some complication gets set. But if a person of age group of 30s, they have a window period of 15-20 years before some complication will catch up with them. It could
Mm.
be earlier also. This is an old some old data or old saying, but nowadays I see that people coming in their mid 30s with 7 or 8 tablets already 7 tablets on diabetic. Forget about hypertension, blood pressure, forget about other cholesterol medication, everything they will be there. So it is really catching us young, and our modern processed food is something to be blamed about. So the first thing is to get them off all packaged foods, because we are used to eating all this apparently healthy food, healthy biscuits and all. So nothing is healthy. Everything available in the packet food are all junk. So it is, the challenge will be there. A senior person may be more into conventional thinking that this is the type of food they're supposed to take. Young fellow are more little uh, amenable to changes, but then there's a peer pressure there because they attend a lot of events, parties, and then their friends are not bothered, because we know that people are generally not bothered about them. They say sab chalta hai, you take everything. So there are different strokes. We'll have to see optimally. We'll have to make a planning in such a way that they can follow this plan optimally. There will be deviations. So I don't say there is no deviation. There will be deviation from what we have taken. But then If people follow this plan properly, and I think they'll be successful. And let me tell you, from the age group of 30s to even 70s, I have taken care of even 70s. I have a gentleman who's 70-year-old, successfully got off insulin also. So he's in Belgium.
Wow.
So only through online virtual consultation, he has worked with the doctor, he has come off insulin also. So any age group it is possible, provided the person has the desire to get off medication, and he is willing to give up all those tasty carbohydrate foods. So I'm not telling that protein is not tasty, but let us admit that all carbohydrate foods are highly tasty. So if the person is willing to give up that and adopt a diet, protein based food, which will nourish their system or nourish their body, and I think they will do it. So challenges will be there. Challenges are there with different age group, but I think by far people are doing very nicely and they
Hmm.
are very successful. So that's what I can say.
Absolutely, and that's very true. I didn't think about that before, but younger people in their early 30s or so getting diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, there's a procrastination aspect that comes in. Like, I'm young right now, and like you said, they have more years also to work on it than
That's
someone
true.
in their 50s. So that procrastination does set in, and they might feel like, why am I postponing my life in order to do this, make this change right now? But I'm sure that with the little baby steps and some easier changes in the lifestyle, they can definitely get rid of this and really again get back to enjoying their life. Of course, still maintaining this kind of diet, because it's just not a diet, it's a lifestyle, like you said. So that's a great thing. I didn't think about that, how younger people might be facing this dilemma even more than older ones. So that's a great
I
highlight for
think now,
us.
Sakshi, to add to this, we are seeing a rise in instances of even fatty liver in children, in kids.
Hmm.
It is a huge, a big problem. The kids, they, in our own building housing societies and all, earlier we used to see slim kids when we were small. We all slim. In fact, our parents used to take us to doctors telling that these guys are
Skinny.
slim, skinny, give them something. Doctor very sincerely that time used to tell them, please give them X. I mean, that was the time. But now, if you see, people are very obese. Now, paradoxically, parents they don't do this, but a time will come when they'll take their children to doctor asking them for weight loss for the children.
Hmm.
But nevertheless, in our Indian culture, we see fat people or obese or people overweight people as someone healthy. So it is very paradoxical in our society. All the children who are moving around are having fatty liver, visceral fat, and dysregulated blood sugar also. In fact, I come across one case. One of my client, her kid was obese. So I told you get a few tests done. Let me check. HbA1c is 5.7, which is pre-diabetic. Can you imagine? So what will we do? This kid is having a lot of chocolates, lot of biscuits at home, and that's the easiest snack which a parent can give. And what I think is parents are the root cause of obesity of children in India, because parents, because of their busy life, laziness, or lack of creative thinking, they are doing what is easy for them. Give this 5 rupees, 10 rupees chips packet or any junk food to pacify the kid, giving them high sugary things so that they are pacified. Give them a mobile and then they will keep quiet and they spoil their life. I think I really dread what's going to happen to the next generation. So already we are seeing diabetes and hypertension and heart attack in 30s very easily now. In 30s, 30 to 40 band. So it's only, and I think in between there was I saw a YouTube video in Mumbai that BMC has done a survey in municipal school children. They saw thousands of children suffering from hypertension and another few thousand suffering from diabetes or pre-diabetes. So most of them are going unnoticed actually, and we are not,
Exactly.
unfortunately, we are not doing a real assess or survey or doing something to do.
True, that's rightly said, because, like you said, the ones coming up are the only ones who have gotten tested or gotten the reports done, right? There's so many more who are not even getting these things tested with their kids, and there might be many children out there silently suffering with this, and it might really affect them when they come into puberty, and say even in their 20s or 30s, unknowingly, without solving the root cause right now at this age. And it's the sad reality today that we are seeing so many children being diagnosed with this, and there's really not much room to make changes when you have been leading this lifestyle for like 20-30 years, and then you have to make these changes. That's when we feel like these are drastic changes, and we feel like, it's a big challenge to get adapted to this. So I'm sure that a lot of our listeners might get some insight from this, and also parents out there can start making some changes with their children from a younger age, because that would really ease them into these lifestyle changes as they grow up. So that's a great highlight for us.
So I think what I say is like, see, drastic change is something which you have to make. So in management, we had a saying that doing the same thing again and again and expecting different results is called as madness. The definition of madness is doing the same thing again and again, expecting different results. So if we want to get rid of some disease, and if we keep eating the same food which cause disease, then it's not going to work, and in fact can be termed as madness, sheer madness. And that is what is going on. So it is very clear, it is very evident that whatever we are eating are causing fatty liver, insulin resistance, diabetes, blood pressure, heart attack, cancer, dementia, Alzheimer's, polycystic ovarian disease in females. Lot of issues. In fact, in 1 in 5 female in India is actually having PCOS. The number is very terrible. And paradoxically, the understanding of nutrition is very, very poor. In fact, nutrition science is the only science in this globe which is highly conflicted. It is the only science which is highly conflicted. No other science is as conflicted as nutrition science.
True, true. There are these wars happening when it comes to nutrition, and that's where people are really misled and also confused. And towards the end of the day, there's so much decision fatigue that they just settle for what lifestyle they're leading right now, instead of just choosing one thing or choosing one way of doing it. That's well put. And also, you said that you work with a lot of doctors, right? Is this is a question a lot of people might have, a lot of diabetes patients might have, that is it really possible to get off the pills? And what do you think, like, you do consult with a lot of doctors and their patients, so how has that relation been going on, and what do the doctors also have to say about reversing this and also getting rid of the pills that we have?
See, first of all, this is called, I will say that more than the word reversal, it is what is called a remission. Remission is
Right.
the right word. Diabetes remission or hypertension remission. So, as long as we are on a low carbohydrate diet, the blood sugars will be normal. The moment we go back to high carbohydrate diet, everything will come back. So, one thing has to be clear, and I tell all my cases that if you want to do, please do it for lifelong. Otherwise, please don't do at all. Please don't come to me. Please don't go to anyone else. Please take your medication, do your blood test couple of times a year, and visit your doctor as per the frequency he has given. But if you want to get off medication, you have to commit to this lifetime. So there is no such thing as weekly cheating and all. So I don't believe in cheating. No one will cheat. You cannot cheat and do. And this is not a 3 month, 6 month course that you go back to eating in the old way. Everything will come back. So that is also not possible. So I do have a few doctors who understand and support the concept of low carb, and they do refer a few cases to me, so especially for either weight loss or diabetes reversal, or especially those who are, maybe not every case, but those who are not controlled adequately even with lot of pills. So where they felt that now the dietary change has to be there. So so they come. And we have a lot of I have a lot of cases where I got them off medication. In fact, very recently I had a case where this person was from Kerala. His HbA1c was 13, and he was not taking any medication at all. He was adamant of not taking any medication. So I was initially hesitant to take the case because I told no, at this level you have to take medication, and then we'll work parallelly. We'll address both medication and also.
Right.
But he was not willing to do it. So what I told him, okay, we'll do one thing. We will observe for a couple of weeks, and if it doesn't come to satisfactory, then please go to your doctor, take medication, will work both. Or if you have, or I can give you a doctor who will support low carb. You can consult online and do that also we can do. And then we found that he responded very well, day by day, and within couple of weeks the level was so satisfactory. From 200, 300 level blood sugar, he came to around 140, 150, which was highly
Wow,
satisfactory. And after exactly 3 months, his HbA1c came from 13 to 6.2
that's
with
amazing.
3 months trial. He has followed to the T, not one single cheating or deviation. I had one more case from Canada similarly at a high level, 8 or 9 HbA1c came down to say around 5.6 to the T within 3 month flat. He was also followed very well. So those people who follow very well, they do. He was also adamant, not willing to take any medication. So
Right.
primarily, I am not against any medication. People can take medication; it is okay. But then, if they address nutrition, then there's a possibility that they can come off medication, depending upon the extent of damage which they have. Is what I can say.
Absolutely. And like you also said that there are people who are on medications for a long time, and they are, spending so much and paying so much, and still it's the same, or it might have even worsened in some cases, right? So we definitely need to find the balance and work with the right coach. That is very important also, because sometimes we might make the wrong decisions on our own with limited information and resources. That's when a great coach can, work wonders for this. So that's a great insight for us. And what would you say is a typical week of eating look like for you or for your clients, and when they make this
I
shift
think say I think
from?
it is all proteinaceous is what I can say. I think meat, fish, eggs is what we can do, and vegetables is what we can do. And for vegetarians, of course, it is primarily dairy based protein. So they can have paneer, they can have curds, or drained curd, or what we call it as yogurt, or Greek yogurt, or hum curd, and vegetables. They can take nuts, they can take seeds, whatever they want. I think. Well, there are a lot of debates on the ideal pattern, but I think what I do is I try to Indianize everything. I see what is possible in our country. We'll have to be very, very sensitive for our country. That if you say that, if people, like I'm there in Twitter, people will come and say no meat, everyone should eat meat, and I say that may not be possible, because culturally,
True.
someone who has not eaten meat for 50 years, they cannot have. It is not possible to change. So we are very sensitive, and what I do is I plan foods around their environment, whatever is prepared in their home, what is available there. So person coming from north may have different compared to what person who may come from south. So their cultural habits are different, the food habits. So I don't give anything exotic that they have to prepare some guacamole or something. Nothing of the sort. What is available there, and what can be prepared is what I do. And that's how we work. And then people will start with 3 meals a day, and then we work towards building up a intermittent fasting type, like shifting to 2.5 meals a day, or even 2 meals a day, and then incorporate some 24-hour fasting, maybe 2 or 3 times a month. Extended fasting may be there in some cases, like 2 or 3 days, but not in many cases. So when we
Right.
incorporate low carb, higher protein with intermittent fasting, it works very well.
Absolutely. And actually, just because you said this right now, is a lot of diabetic patients are scared of starting with fasting, because there's this big myth that diabetic patients cannot fast, and it would affect their blood sugar levels in a wrong way, and they should not do it. And a lot of trainers also, suggest that, oh, you're diabetic, don't go for fasting. What would you say about that, and what would be a
No, no,
right
no,
way
yeah, yeah.
to approach?
Yeah, see, now I think there's a caveat here. So if they're on medication, they'll have to be very, very careful, because they will face hypoglycemia if they go. So I think if they are on medication which lowers blood sugar, like sulfonylurea class of drug, then or on insulin, they will have to be very, very careful. So I don't advocate fasting at all initially to anyone. So we put them on 3 meals a day. They work with the doctor. Once they come off those medications which will cause hypoglycemia, only then we advocate that fasting with the guidance. They can get in touch with the doctor, or I have a doctor who will support low-carb, and then that's what we do. Okay, if they are on other drug like metformin and all, it is quite possible to do fasting. And if people are taking, most of them would be taking drugs 2 times a day, or once a day. So getting them on to 2 meals a day is very easy, provided they are
Yeah.
not on hypoglycemics. They are on sulfonylurea class of drug. Other drugs are all possible, most of the drugs. And insulin, yes, we'll have to be very, very careful. So we
True.
need, everyone need not do fasting, but some of us can do, or most of us can do, is
Absolutely.
what I'll say.
And actually, when we say fasting, the first thing that comes to a lot of people's minds is very extreme, like, okay, now I have to do 17 hours or like even more than that. But in fact, even not snacking, like just going from
Yeah.
snacking to not snacking is a great change, because we have become used to these clocks outside our body that now it's snack time, now it's breakfast time, now it's lunchtime, and midnight snack, like all of these things. We are constantly eating even when we're not hungry. So just making this shift from like 6 meals a day to 3 or 2 is quite a great thing to adapt to. And I think given some time, you can definitely adapt yourself to that. I just read in a recent book somewhere is that metabolic health, like we really underestimate how going for a little time without food is also a great signal of your metabolic health, right? Because that's where we really ignore it, and we don't know the power that comes with it. So that's also a great way. And also that rightly said that people with medication do have to be careful with fasting, and definitely consult a doctor when you do it. So thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah, and I think traditionally, if you see, even in India, we used to have only 2 meals a day. It's only off late that later on people have shifted to 3 meals and multiple meals, 3 meals and 3 snacks. And diabetics, they are given a solid license of eating 6 or 8 meals a day. So having the
Exactly.
small meals every 2 hours, you keep eating something. I think it's a terrible advice, and
Exactly.
somewhere that advice is given because they are on medication, and if they load themselves, that medication will not be able to handle that glycemic load. So what they say is you eat small meals a day and keep your levels like this, like this. The levels are always higher, so it will never give. It will only worsen the blood sugar control. Is
True.
what I say.
And I'd say not only for diabetes, but even in terms of fitness trainers, because I've been a trainer myself, and I'll tell you in my training course, this is what was it was a like with the whole weight training section, there was a small section for nutrition that we had to learn about, right? So in that, our professor literally told us that the best way for you to approach any client is to tell them 6 meal to switch to 6 meals a day. So smaller meals in 2 hours of gap. So that is literally has been taught to a lot of trainers in the last few years, and without making a change or getting to know the recent research or studies, or even people leading by example like yourself, this is what people opt for, the 6 meal a day. And it is told in a way to get adapted to your to for better metabolism, basically, right? Like 6 meals a day for better metabolism. That is what a lot of people are hidden behind, and really need to understand this other approach as well.
I think let us understand that where this has come from. This has come from the food industry. Now, if you see the Western world, they may not be cooking fresh food. What they take is all packaged foods. Buy it, store it in a cupboard, and or a freezer. Put it in microwave and take it. So even the milk, they don't have dudwalas like we do. So they buy this bottled milk for 30 days or Tetra Pak for 30 days, keep it and take. So the very concept of the multiple meals probably must have come from food industry, so that no one can cook 6 or 8 times a day. So all they will take is ready snacks. That is where it comes in. So I think it's a terrible advice which is influenced by food industry on the dietetic association. So the dietetic association also keeps pushing multiple meals a day. This is, according to me, is sheer nonsense.
Exactly.
Diabetic should not be eating so much. It is sheer nonsense. And many a days I take, I might take many a days I might take only one meal. Well, I don't recommend one meal a day because in Indian context we don't fulfill the protein requirement.
Mhm.
It can easily happen on 2 meals a day, but then I can fast any of the days also if necessary. So because I'm not on any medication, so I can go ahead and fast. I can do water fasting. I can do liquid fasting. Like I can take lemon juice or anything else, or green tea or black tea, black coffee, whatever it is. So doing low carb and intermittent fasting just liberates us from all those bondages of multiple meals and medication.
Exactly, and it's very exhausting. Like, come on, think about having 6 meals every day, the decision fatigue. Like, what am I gonna have? Making a whole meal plan, and it's really not something you can do in the long run. With a busy lifestyle, with your work, with your family and kids, it's really easier to make this shift to a low carb diet, and also cutting down the meals that you have in a day. So that's, and also you'll be more satiated for a longer time, right? That's where also we need to really focus on what are you eating, like what quality are you eating, and what are the macros in your meals. Because where we feel a high carb meal might satiate us right now after we eat it, but what happens is that just in a few hours you will again get hungry, and that cycle just keeps on continuing. So really what matters is the last meal that you have, and what are you really eating. So That's an amazing insight. So, how does the prevalence of diabetes in India compare to other countries that we have currently, and what is some evidence that you can like share with us in terms of low carb diet and diabetes?
See, Sakshi, let us say that the IDF report was released recently. So they say that India accounts for 17% of the total number of diabetics in the world. So we have 80 million or 80 crore diabetics in India, and you know that our population recently, I think it rose to some 142 crores or so in 2023, and we are said to be overtaking China. I don't know how far all these things are there. However, we are projected to be having 135 million people with diabetes. That is 13 crores by 2045. So you can imagine the amount of people suffering from diabetes. And against our 80 million currently, US has around 51 million, and they are projected to reach 63 million, whereas we are projected to reach 135 million. So our
My
numbers
God.
are huge. In fact, China, due to the sheer size of population, they have around 141 million already diabetics, as against our 80 millions. So this is what is there. But as per some of the recent report in, like I had read somewhere in Mumbai, they said 1 in 3 are actually pre-diabetic. 1 in 3 person is pre-diabetic. In fact, 74% have actually BMI more than 23% among them, and among them 44% are also sedentary, and two of three are actually at risk for pre-diabetics in Mumbai. So the prevalence of pre-diabetes or diabetes in boys, in adolescent boys and girls,
Mhm.
where could be somewhere around, let us say, 12% to 8% is what we are seeing. PCOS, I already told you that almost 1 in 5 suffer from PCOS. Let us come to blood pressure. Approximately 30% of people suffer from hypertension, and huge number of Alzheimer cases. Fatty liver is just rampant, maybe around 18 to 30% is the projected one, and huge number of insulins. Now I'll come to very interesting. Due to my background about pharma, I know that the
Hmm.
number one pharma product in India is actually insulin. It is mixed, amounting to grossing more than 70 crores a month. Why should insulin sales be number one in India? Though we are our type 1 diabetics are not very high, but then it is used primarily in type 2 diabetics. And if you really see region wise, again, a lot of this insulin is used in southern part of India, where anyway the diabetes prevalence is also high, probably due to the
Hmm.
higher rice intake. In fact, the top 10 brands actually has three anti-diabetics, two insulin and one tablet. Top 10 pharma brands has actually three anti-diabetics. So if you see such data, it is huge. I mean, people are consuming all this medication in tons. So
Absolutely.
I think so. This is I thought this will be little interesting that you should know.
Of
And
course.
then low carb approach is not something new. Very many people call this as a fad diet. It is not a fad. Fad is something which is short lived. The craze comes and goes, but people do not know that low carb documented case of low carb has a history of more than 200 years. So the
Wow.
first documented case was something around 1768 by Dr. John Rollo from the Royal Artillery, who treated notes of two diabetic cases. That PDF you can search in net, where he has treated patient with primarily meat and fat and milk diet, and reversed diabetes in the sense that that time there were no facility available except knowing the sugar in urine or glucose in urine. So just by measuring that, they have come to the conclusion that a diet based primarily on meat, fat, milk, maybe small amount of bread, he was able to stop urine sugar. So we have a 200 years history, and if you really go to search the net, you will find that low carb approach was the one which was used before the discovery of insulin and sulfonylurea class of drug. So the very old data exists on even Jocelyn diet, where he has recommended primarily more of fat, protein, and very low carbohydrate. And the father of internal medicine, Dr. William Osler or Sir William Osler, so textbook of medicine, also recommends high protein, higher fat, low carb approach. It is all there in the net. It's an information
True.
that you can get. It is just that we have forgotten everything with the discovery of insulin and sulfonylurea class of drug, that we started eating everything and anything. So this is a very sound science-based approach, and doctors in the past have used this approach very, very effectively. In fact, many of us may not know that uh, Wilders has actually formulated ketogenic diet for epilepsy or epileptic patient. In fact, he had formulated a ketogenic diet for diabetes even prior to that.
Wow.
So Russell Wilder is known for formulating ketogenic diet for children. So, but many years prior to that, he had formulated a ketogenic diet for diabetes, also type 2 diabetes. So I think people should be aware that what we are doing is science, and it was known for 200 years. It is just that today there is an industry or conflicted science which is clouding it. So just get back to the history, and you will learn a lot of things.
Absolutely, that was some great insight, and also the numbers that you shared about the pre-diabetic data, right? Like that's crazy. I mean, and there are so many other people who are still not, they don't know that this is going on in their body, and they haven't gotten tested and gotten their reports done. So I'm sure that numbers can be even higher, and that's a big scare. That's a big wake up call that we definitely need today, and we can start making these changes immediately. So thank you so much for sharing that with us.
Thank you.
That's it for today. We are coming to a conclusion of our episode. And would you like to give us some last messages or thoughts for our audience as we conclude today?
See, I always say that a low carbohydrate, higher protein, adequate fat approach is a good option for all type 2 diabetes. See, in recent times, we have very good medication to control. But what happens is that we are not addressing the root cause somewhere. The high carbohydrate diet ultimately is going to raise our blood sugar. So somewhere we'll have to address this. And now many of us may not be aware that American Diabetes Association in 2019 itself they incorporated low carbohydrate diet as a part of medical nutrition therapy for type 2 diabetes. That is, if they want, they can adopt this. It is there from 2019 itself.
Well,
Diabetes Canada also Diabetes Canada also has this uh, low carb approach that LCD and VLCD they can as well do. So you have all those facilities there. Even Obesity Medicine Association has included ketogenic diet or even Atkins diet uh, uh, as an option for obesity resolution. So it is all there. It is guidelines are there. It is just that we do not know.
absolutely. That's a really good message, and thank you so much for sharing that with us. I'm sure our audience is going to have a lot of insights with this. And for me personally, also, I feel like the way you talk about this and the way you approach it is really, like you said, of course, it's difficult and challenging. It will be drastic, but compared to a lot of other, nutrition, like diets or what do you say, the opinions that we have, nutrition opinions that we have outside, they are very extreme, like if you say it's a carnivore approach, or even just completely cutting out carbs, and that can be very drastic, and for someone to even accept it mentally, it's very tough, right? So for me personally, I feel like if anybody really wants to ease into this and also start applying this, then Mr. Shashikant is a great person to go to. You can definitely book a consultation with him. The details in the description below. You can reach out to him and learn a lot more, a lot more science behind this, evidence behind this, and also approach it with a good plan in your hand. So thank you so much for being here today. Uh,
Thank,
that's it for today's episode. I'm Sakshi Pawar, and I'll be your host for the Settle or Be Better podcast. So stay tuned while we bring more inspiring stories your way.
thank you. Thanks, Sakshi, for inviting me on this podcast. Thank you.
You know the drill. Subscribe to the Settle or Be Better podcast, like, share, and comment on our videos, and oh, hit the bell icon because you don't want to miss the mind boggling health discussions we're about to bring for you. Why settle when you can be better?